Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me. In this video we're going to do upward facing dog or Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. It's a really intense back bend, ton of power in the legs and in the arms and the sides, basically everywhere from the shoulders down, and hopefully creating a ton of space in the spine. I'm going to show this with the option of doing this with your hands on a couple of blocks, so you might find that helpful. And you want to really imagine that you have your feet to a wall in part of this. So anyway, let's go ahead, head on back, and really starting to get the idea and power of plank pose. Okay, so I'm just going to start out with my hands here on a couple of blocks. What this does is it really works great for both ends of the spectrum, whether you're a little bit tighter or a little bit more flexible. You have a greater range that you can test things out in. So with my hands here on the blocks, really spreading the fingers and kind of getting a sense of what feels best for my wrists. So, and I kind of change things up. It just depends on what I'm doing. Do I want the middle fingers to be parallel with each other? Do I want the index fingers to be parallel with each other? Okay, either way, I'm trying to get the creases of my wrists parallel with the front edge of the mat, but there's a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, you also might explore this, testing out, okay, do I want my arms a little bit narrower, together, or do I need them a little bit wider out to the sides? We're always trying to bring energy up and in toward the midline, but the placement has to work for your body. Okay, and then kind of just seeing range of motion. Okay, so we're trying to stay secure in this position, and so that the arm bones are nice and snug in the shoulder joints. But it's really easy to get into this pose and kind of lose our neck, okay, at the detriment of our spine. So we need to feel powerful without it being this, okay, disconnecting, and then being really vulnerable in the position. So we have those center line of the wrist to the elbow to the shoulder, okay, and we want it to have a seamless pathway down the sides, across, okay? So I take a lot of time here to set it up, drawing energy up from the palms, okay, beyond, okay, all the way up here, and lengthening the neck. And then I add each leg, okay, which, as I said, we want to imagine, okay, that the feet are up at a wall, okay? So especially the heels, probably more the heels because you can see the tilt in the feet, okay? So energy coming up the arms, up the legs, lengthening the spine, okay, and trying to feel the sense of seamless energy. So if I imagine the heels are up at a wall, then I'll get more power in my legs, okay, so that's that upward energy, up from the hands, up from the feet, in toward the midline, okay, now engaging pretty much everything, but ease in the neck, okay, and then to come in to explore upward facing dog, as you shift, okay, so you're going to shift forward, make sure you're still keeping that energy pulling in toward the midline, and then choosing, okay, how does it feel to flip the feet? So one foot at a time, okay, so you have some control here. I'm shifting more forward. So one foot is still, can you see it, tucked, okay, the other one is not, okay, so I'm just exploring here, and this is where you can see maybe, okay, if you have more flexibility, then you have a little bit, you've removed some of the limitations of the floor, okay? Now I'm flipping the other one. So you'll decide, where do you want to stop? Is it, where in this back bend is most appropriate for your pause, exploration, maybe deepening it, okay, but still being active. So as my feet are now, the tops are down, I'm still rooting down, pulling energy up, okay, so those energy centers, okay, so I'm from the center lines, the feet, all the way up the legs, inner thighs, outer thighs, base of glutes, okay, to the pelvic floor, that line coming up to the belly button to between shoulder blades, between the shoulder blades to the sternum, from the sternum to the center of the throat, to the base of the skull, to the crown of the head, and then you could look forward, look up, back. Oh, I love this pose. Okay, and then carefully setting the knees down. And it depends. If you're going to repeat this, I would recommend more of a neutral position, hands and knees sitting back on the heels rather than going into a forward fold. But it depends on your practice, you know, a sort of child's pose. So I love to build momentum behind those back bends, okay, and then explore. If I'm in a more vigorous practice, then I love the feeling of going from upward facing dog to downward facing dog. But you just want to make sure that your bones are grounded, okay, in the joints, that they're snug, and you're not rubbing things in a way that you can feel any sort of pinch or any sort of, I don't even know how to describe it, but especially in the shoulders, you know, if they're vulnerable, you'll feel like tendons kind of going click, 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 click. Don't ignore the click, click, because that means it's not snug, it's not secure. And over time, especially if you're practicing more of a vinyasa practice, that click, 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 click just takes one time, and then you've got, you know, some sort of tear or just something not good. So those little signals there, we want to make sure to really pay attention to and keep ourselves safe and healthy and able to be active for as long as we can. So upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha. You totally do not have to do this on blocks. You could do this with your hands on the mat. I do that all the time. Just wanted to show, right, the visual of how you really have control over depth. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful, and I would love to hear from you. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.